All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our back to school August board meeting. We're calling to order at 6:34. Um, let's see here. We've got a review of the agenda here that we're going to go through. So we have quite a bit of minutes to approve. The last time we met was the June 25th board meeting. Then we had a working session prior to that where we talked about our school year 24-25 school goals to review that and approve those minutes, as well as a special topic meeting that we had on July 31st. We're going to vote for a new treasurer tonight, and then I will turn it over to the admin team to go over some overall updates, new goals for the 24-25 school year, including 5-year goals in regards to academics. We will approve internet safety policy tonight. We are lucky to have Ms. Karen in the room to represent the PTO and give us a monthly update. I know there's been lots of activity since we started school, so excited to hear about that. Finance update. Heather, I'm going to have to kick that back to you for to cover that. And then we will have any committee updates, including our board progress goals. We do have an interested candidate in the room tonight. So we'll talk about the next steps for that. And then I will hand it over to Stacy for any updates and closing us out. That's Carla. Another interested candidate, Carla, coming in. All right. So I guess I will move to any public comment. As a reminder, public comment, you can type your name in the chat, or those in the room who have public comment based on the agenda I just covered. You have 3 minutes to state anything within public comment. Not seeing anything in chat. Let me get your submission. That's for you. Oh, thank you. So I'm not seeing any public comment. All right, so we will move forward then with our agenda. And so that takes us to approving our June 25th board meeting minutes.
I motion to approve our June 25th board meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, next is to approve our working session. That's where we covered our goals.
I would like to make a motion to approve our working meeting notes from June 25th at 6:30 p.m. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Okay, and then finally, we had a special topic meeting minutes. That was a quick meeting, 15 minutes.
I would like to motion to approve our July 31st special topic meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any motion carries?
Okay. All right, thank you all for reviewing those ahead of time to make that quick.
Thank you for having them online.
and also feel free to tell me to make any edits if you see any for sure.
Yeah, looks good.
All right, so next we will move into voting for a new treasurer. We did get commitments. By the way, that Kevin is willing
Yeah, that
to
helps.
take on that role.
It's always best when they're not here too, but yeah, there's no backing out at that point. So, yes, I think that Kevin fits into that role very smoothly with his background and current responsibilities. He's more than qualified, I think, to help support our team in this position. So I would like to nominate Kevin for treasurer.
Happy to second that motion.
Any other discussion regarding treasurer?
No, I would just kind of echo what you said. He's got
Mhm.
more than enough qualifications, and his experience in his day job is directly correlated to
Yeah.
what this position will do. So he comes well equipped.
Very well. Okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Kevin. You are now our new treasurer.
All right, thank you. So that takes us to the administration team's report. So I will turn it over to you, Heather.
Perfect. So lots of busy things happening this summer. So I'm just gonna kind of go through, I think I uploaded a lot of this already onto our board docs, but construction is completed for our 2 classrooms. We came in a little over budget. We're finalizing some of those payments, but it was only like $3,000. It was a couple of things that was required during inspection, like termite, those kind of things that came in before they give us our permit. So once I have those final numbers, I'll share with you all, but that kind of goes to the construction that I was gonna talk, or the custodians I was gonna talk about, but a huge shout out to First Pro Level Services. That's who worked with us in the project, and they were phenomenal. They made it so smooth for us, so definitely, I don't think I could have done it on my own without them. And then Tito, Tito's our facility manager, but him and his crew, he was our point person every time they needed one little thing. And then especially our volunteers, and that whole crew came in at 6 o'clock on the tropical storm in the morning and moved furniture. Which was the first week of school, or when teachers came back. So if you hadn't had a chance, definitely stop over and see it. It looks really, really good. Field rental, we are still have contracts, that people can sign up to use our field, and or the cafeteria at the secondary campus. We are trying to work through the field rental of, how do we do it now that we don't have this restroom? Because this restroom is closed off, so, you know, I don't really wanna open the building up. I don't wanna open the NPR up because we have, music in there and those kind of things. So we're gonna have to work with I-9 to either they bring in their own portable, restroom and during their time that they have the field, or they hire a custodian that just that monitors that restroom, because I don't want people wandering in classrooms. So we are gonna have to kind of think through that process, for I-9 because they're still interested in our field.
Are they currently under contract for the field right now?
Not right now. They were in the spring. We have not signed a contract for the fall yet.
Okay.
But Brandon has been great about being our person. Was just trying to work through those logistics of what does that look like.
Didn't we need him here anyway when they were here?
We always
Did
had
we
a
get
staff
around that?
member here, because we do have staff whose children is on,
Yeah.
the teams. It's just, it looks a little different, I think, now because we're opening up a space. So, you know, I know it was mentioned maybe one of the empty classrooms upstairs, but we have storage stuff in there, and then it leads to another classroom. And so it's just really working through what would be the best space that we wouldn't have, unfortunately, not to be mean, but kids running around and those kind of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So,
It'd have to be monitored.
yeah. So definitely gonna have to get with, the person over I-9 to say, you know, what options do you all have too, if you wanna rent the field? Could you bring in a portable? I don't know if they're willing to eat that cost, cause it can get kind of expensive.
A portalet?
Yeah, like,
Oh, okay.
I didn't wanna say porta potty, but.
Yeah. I'm like, a whole portable?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay, a
So,
portalet, yeah.
definitely gonna have to work through that
Mhm.
part. As far as operations overall, it has been very, very busy for our custodians. You know, one of the challenges is we've been down a custodian at the secondary building. So really trying to work through the construction, being down a custodian, summer events, and it's just somehow they keep making it work. So I really appreciate all that they've done. We are also down a lawnmower for the elementary campus. here, and so we had to take the lawnmower from the secondary campus and bring it here. Because we still don't know how long it's gonna take to get it fixed. They came to pick it up, the company came to pick it up, but they said they're behind. So trying to shift those things around to get both builds.
They give you a quote on it yet?
Not yet. So honestly, I'm gonna be honest, it may be cheaper. What we've already spent just in this year trying to redo it is to look at buying one.
Yeah.
Because we also need a push mower at the other campus because it's down, so. So Tito and I are gonna meet, we're gonna start trying to make a list of things that we have to have immediately, and then, we're having some issues with the air conditioning at the high school. And so Stephen and Tito's been working with that company, trying to figure out what to do. They're gonna look at a control panel. They've been in there, I think they've already clocked 10 hours trying to figure it out. It's not cooling all the way. We thought maybe it was adjusted wrong. But they have since came back and said, we'll look at this control panel, see if this will help. So that's gonna cost us $5,000 to replace. And then if that doesn't work, we'll see what the next steps are, but they did kind of go ahead and throw it out there that that unit is ending near.
Probably needs a new coil or something.
Yeah, so.
Have you thought about what it would cost to hire a lawn service to do this lawn?
I've actually talked to Tito about that because
Yeah.
right now the lawn service has been Doug Clay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's super cheap.
Needs work.
He's been the last 2 weekends here.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
he
crazy.
and I were here on Saturday too. Now, with that said, I will say we did get a lawn company that he helped me work out. We kind of bid those out, and he offered his services to get the price down.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been near the high school, all of the trees were overgrown. They were all coming down on card, like the limbs were coming down. So it took 2 Saturdays, but all of that's been removed. And so we did pay, not as much as or more than I wanted to spend, but yet also definitely a good deal on all the, considering the quotes that we had from those.
Yeah.
And
Just
so
to
it
do
doesn't-
cleanup?
yeah, they hauled off. It took them 2 full days and probably about 6 huge truckloads full, but they got it out of there. And so now working with the custodial crew that we got to keep a maintenance of that because
Yeah.
there's just so much shrubbery over there.
I don't know what a new lawnmower would cost for here,
Yeah.
like.
Well, I mean,
Is
like,
there a ballpark on what that
Yeah.
costs?
Tito,
eight
I was
thousand.
gonna say Tito
That
thought
sounds
he
for
could
a-
get
for a
one for 5,000 to
Zazu?
6,000.
That's what I call them.
Just, I don't know what that would be compared to
Yeah.
having a lawn
Yeah.
service that came through.
Right,
once
if you're
a
like,
week,
if you're
every 2
looking
weeks,
at a couple $100 a month anyways, or,
That'd be at least probably 500 more a month.
So I know
$1,000
prior
a month
to me
is-
coming, they had a lawn service, I
Yeah.
guess, and it became so expensive that
Okay.
it was not worth it anymore. It was
Yeah.
it was cheaper to hire somebody, an employee
Yeah,
to actually do it. So, it's definitely something, once we get a quote of what that would look like to weigh that out to see what would be best for that, but.
And it's at the peak right now too, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when the winter comes, it's not as bad and we're not doing
Right.
it, but right now you gotta do it every single week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so, so that's why, it looks like it does even on this campus, but they're doing a great job, but, it's trying to manage
Yeah.
bringing in equipment. So it just seemed like it all went down at the same time, for us.
I know like those eating cleanups or like one-time jobs, like those are always good things to throw a call out to a bunch of
Yeah,
dads in the community too for volunteer service too, because we've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of
yeah,
participation.
versus
to do
like
that,
a
too.
gardening day,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
landscape
Tree,
cleanup
if there's
day.
a tree trimming day, like
Yeah.
I'll
we can
be
get
there.
4 or 5 dads come out here with some chainsaws and some
Yeah.
trucks and
Right.
and
Or
we
work
may
like
still,
that.
even at the high school, still have to do that.
That's fine.
The
That's
bushes
fine.
all down the one side needs still,
Yeah.
of course, now my husband's saying, I really need to go buy this trimmer thing that, and I was like, oh, just for the
good
school.
excuse.
Yeah, we don't need it at our house.
I need
but
one too.
Yeah, it's like, so I
You
do
change
think we are gonna have to have, and also just being really cautious, love our gardening clubs and stuff like that, but how much we plant,
Yeah.
because then it's gotta be the upkeep. And so I know, like, even on the backside, I've been working with a couple of teachers that they tried to come in the summer and do it, but the garden and everything was just overgrowing, and then you have to worry about critters and all that kind of stuff. So John's been great too at that campus about helping. Even him, he had his daughter out there. We were all power washing and getting it ready. So, and then here at this campus, just trying to balance both. So that is
Yeah.
something that
A lot
long
of
term we're gonna
space.
have to start looking at, some of our capital outlay stuff that we're.
I know there's some families that have landscaping businesses
Yeah.
that are.
So maybe we need to put that out there. If you're willing, contact me, to do that.
I have a question about the air conditioning.
Uh-huh.
So are we looking at quotes, if we think that that system is nearing the end of its life, does it make sense to look at quotes before we invest $5,000 in the board or?
Yeah, well, we would not be able to fund that right now. It's about $200,000 to $300,000. So we have to go ahead and do that
Yeah.
fix
Okay.
now. And then definitely start looking at the capital outlay, because we'll have to bid that out and go through the whole capital outlay thing. And so, I was really shocked when I found out we didn't do that when we renovated, like all of that. But, so it
Building
is
wasn't
something.
that old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had that all inspected when
Vetted for it,
somebody
yeah.
came through, and that was part of our
Yeah.
pre-purchase, and we went through and vetted all that stuff, but
How old is the building?
8 years now,
it's
maybe?
maybe like 8 years now,
Yeah.
yeah. It was like 5 years old when we bought it, so like,
Yeah. So
And it's sat empty for 2 years.
yeah.
I think that might be the
Yeah,
worst
yeah.
part about
Yeah.
it, actually, is that sometimes when it's sitting and it's not running.
Yeah.
Is it builder grade? I mean, the one in our house was builder grade and only lasted a decade and.
Yeah,
Much
that's
smaller
all
than-
stuff is
Yeah.
meant to
Yeah.
last, really. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'll let you all know as that progresses, and just kind of see what happens with that. We also were able to move, when I say we, they did it before I got back over here, those pods, the pods that we had to rearrange those. So we were able to move those to the other side of the room, well, 2 of them. Tito had a whole crew out there scooting those along, but then that made room for our new lunch line. So Brittany has worked really hard about getting that set up, and then we've got the sink installed there, so we can make sure everything was for our state requirements there. So that it looks really good in that NPR right now. Leadership wise, they worked really hard this summer. I know I keep saying really hard, but that's what it feels like. It's been really, really hard, but they've done great. We did have our leadership training day in July, and you'll be able to see in just a moment. I'll share with you. We created some goals. We did go ahead and create our evaluation system, so we got all of that lined up. So administrators were able to share that with the employees when they returned, and then also a student attendance system. We have that in place now to ensure that we don't let any student, fall through the cracks on when we're trying to get them to school, and what our process is to intervene if necessary. We also worked on all of the new safety requirements. So just an update about that. We did ask for an exemption from OCPS for our gates, because the gates are mandated to all be locked when students are present. But that's very difficult on both campuses. So at the high school campus, we now, after car rider, lock the back gate, and just have the front gate open. And then here, all the gates are locked except for the front. We have not heard back that that they accepted or denied our request, so I'm sure we will, from OCPS, but,
no news is good news.
What's the expectation, that they're all locked?
all
They're-
locked or manned, guarded at all times.
So how would people get in and out if they needed to? When
would
it's
have
You
to
locked?
would have to have somebody there.
So you have to have
Mhm.
somebody there.
Yeah, so hoping after we went to our safety.
Public schools doing that?
That's what I was like, I don't know. Are
They're
other
all
elementary
asking
schools
for
doing that?
exemption.
They're all
Yeah,
asking for
Seems like a
exemptions
lot.
if you can.
Yeah.
Because that's also for events. So like
Mhm.
one of the things they were talking about, which, we're kind of fortunate on, we don't have like a gym to have basketball events. But at the same time, if it's unlocked, there has to be an employee standing beside of it. And so they're all working through that. So there was a lot of safety
Cardboard
changes.
cutout.
Every door locked, we took up all the door stoppers. You can't have those for any door, classroom door. We upgraded a PA system at the high school now. We have that. We use some of our safety grant for that. So They've just gotta come back. Stephen, was able to get radios that feed into our PA system in an emergency. And so all administrators and a couple other people will have radios that if something happens in the SRO, we could immediately do a PA then. So that still has to happen, but that would be there. So there was a lot of changes to safety. There's also a lot of, fallout if we don't follow it. So we've been very upfront with staff to say it's an expectation. We even had to add that into our employee manual for disciplinary. We will be visited by OCPS. We don't know when yet, but they'll come through and do a safety check in addition to our normal safety checks. But, they'll come through
If
and
they didn't give you an exception and they did come to visit and you didn't have somebody monitoring the gates, like is there a fallout from that? What's the penalty or
Well,
repercussions?
originally it was, certification on the administrator. But they did pull that out.
Yeah,
They
that's
just say
harsh.
disciplinary action.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Against the administrator?
Yeah, well, I guess for us, maybe as
Just-
a charter, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
School, a board. maybe.
Yeah.
Like the-
And so that was the first thing was they were gonna do, but now I don't know if it's a fine, I don't know what. Cause they didn't put any money behind it. It was just mandated.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
mandates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's been a lot of extra paperwork on our administrators, making sure, cause everything now is, the forms look different and.
You know what any of the other charter schools are doing?
We all met together, at the safety meeting.
Yeah.
And kind of talked through it. They're all kind of in the same boat we are, especially with the gates. I know there was a lot of questions about like kids walking, from one class to another. And so they were like, well, staff has to be in the hallway. We did Kathy was able to call and get clarification, like if a kid's being released to go home, can we let them walk down? They did say that, does the cafeteria door have to be locked during lunch? And so they talked about that. Well, no, they just have to be manned, it has to be manned. And doors only have to be locked when students or instruction is happening. So students are in there. So like our office could be open unless they were using it to test or something like that, and then it has to be
Right.
locked. So,
But we're locking all classroom doors.
oh yeah, they all have to be
Yeah.
locked. And that is something.
That's different this year than. or
It's
has that
not
been
ever been different, but I think it's really being enforced.
enforced.
Yeah, like that is a huge, a shift. Especially here, cause we're so open,
Yeah.
kids and that freedom and stuff like that. So it's been a big change, but locking a lot of that down.
And is that both in the buildings with the interior quarters as well
Oh,
as, yeah?
absolutely, yeah, both of them. Yeah, so I'll kind of go through everything and then go back to the goals if that's okay with you all. So that was a lot of the things that we worked on leadership wise. And then, the employee manual on onboarding. So Alicia, Lily and I have been working with a labor attorney, that Dana from Building Hope had recommended, because if you remember, our other employee manuals was all through ADP Total Source. And then there was some things about our contracts, our onboarding documents that we weren't clear about, because we kept getting mixed, information. So spent the summer working through those documents and everything is finalized. Just some big highlights that were changed. He informed us that comp time is illegal. So that was something that was given in the past. So he advised us to remove all mention of comp time, that is not allowed. We of course removed all of the ADP total source. We do need to come back and visit the PTO buyout. Long term, he brought it up, but then as we're going through things, is that gonna be sustainable, for that? So he first was like, you really need to get that out of there. And I'm like, no, that's something we need to talk about. So then we decided to leave it in, but we are going to have to, talk about that, because also in addition to that, Lily and I met with the auditor today and he brought that up as well to say, you have to now submit a report as of June 30th of what you owe if everybody cashed out at the same time. So we have to get that report together.
So we are letting those bank, right?
Up to 240 hours.
So there's no like, there's not like a yearly payout on it, right? Like, or just we're letting
It
it.
rolls over.
Yeah, up to
year
240 hours, and then it's like 25% for 1 to 4 years and 50% buyback on 5 and more
Mhm.
years. So that is something throughout this year we're gonna have to go through and figure out. But I don't want anybody listening to this to panic and say, I need to use all
Right.
my days, because we would grandfather and or
Right.
fix whatever, but it is something long-term. So, after today, when we found out we actually have to have that on June 30th every day, because it's considered money that we actually owe.
Mhm.
Whether somebody requests the buyout or not, we have to know what that is, so that just prompts us even more to start looking at this to say, is it sustainable long-term?
Does that count against us with like cash on hand?
I don't think it'll count against us cash, well, I don't know,
I
you
don't
didn't
know if
mention
that
that.
goes against
I
like
don't-
our
Our debt.
liabilities or
Yeah.
debt, yeah.
It may, so I need to talk, probably need to ask.
Do you have an
that question.
idea of like what our exposure would be in that scenario? Like you said, if everybody cashed out at once, like
Well, I don't know if Alicia's on here. One time
$1,000.
last spring, we looked at like who had the most, and it was like 18,000 and some of like if like a
Dollars?
group, yeah.
that's what are we talking, tens of thousands of dollars?
I
hundreds of
would say
thousands of
we're
dollars?
talking, no, I don't think hundreds, but I do think tens of thousands of dollars would be. You know.
So, well, I guess I remember one of the things of why we did it or why it was proposed was it was supposed to save money, like for not having to pay for substitute
Yeah.
teachers, but I don't know if that's in the analysis too of if it's reasonable that long term or
Right.
is it just more of the cash thing?
Well, and I think that, like she says, if we're not in the financial
Yeah.
ability to maintain, to hold up our end of the bargain, right? Like, then it's not something that,
Right.
is there any other avenues with that? Is there other options with it that would be like
Right.
different ways to go?
Some charter schools actually offer an incentive to say, if they put it in their budget, you use all, so you get to the days, you use all 10 days that year. But, so you don't get to go any over, but if you, any day that you have left over at the end of the year, we pay you $100 a day. Because what they would
Sub-day,
say,
sub-payment.
yes, so that would be what we would spend on a sub. If you choose not to use it, then, so you're not worried about getting only 25% back or 50% back, is we spend $100 on a sub. You know, if you have 10 days left, you get your $1,000 and that's yours. And so that is what.
Well, that could be a lot
do.
per, that could be a
Yeah,
big payout
it
too, to
could.
be honest.
Right, but if you're not paying a sub, so
Yeah.
it equals out about the same for us, because what we spend in subs is crazy. Like, we
Yes.
had to change that this year to say, like last year, we spent almost $300,000 in subs.
Yeah.
Like, we have a
Does that
lot.
include, we had some like full-time subs, so right?
No,
Some,
we
yeah,
have-
but not, only maybe 2,
Yeah.
3, yeah,
What-
but
How many staff do we have? I mean, how many teachers? Sorry, let me back that
how
up.
many teachers? Let me think. I think we have about 50. I think I counted that right.
So a potential of $50,000 is what you would be looking at the end of the year that you'd have to have available if everybody
Yeah.
didn't take any days and you had it, right? Like,
Right.
you'd have to earmark that money.
Right.
If
So-
you stop doing that as a benefit and it's just use it or lose it, right, then people would more likely take those days and you'd have to spend the sub money,
Yeah.
right? So it's,
Yeah,
How
what
many people
other
like
charter
use it?
schools would say is they actually seen an increase in people not, because it was enticing to get the $100 at the end. So it's good like summer money,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know, so. So that is something that we'll have to think through this year and decide what we want to do. We also talked the difference between exempt and non-exempt. As you know, July 1, that threshold changed. So, depending on, you know, the amount that someone makes. So we do have more people on hourly this year, so it's clock in and clock out. So we've worked through that. And then it changes again in January. And so if it passes and goes through, we'll have even more employees that are required to be clock in and clock out. So they're non-exempt. The only exemption right now is for instructional staff. And so we are working through that as well to figure out, you know, what's best, or how to navigate all of that.
Does
Um,
overtime factor into that then?
Yes, once you become an hour early, you have to pay overtime. So, and then you'll see that we added the workplace conduct and discipline to include the violations for safety. And then we also did talk about attendance. Unfortunately, we had several staff members that went into the negative, and so we talked about what that looks like too on that side of, and so that's in our handbook too, of what could potentially happen if you didn't fulfill your contract by showing up. Retirement, this was something that the previous treasurer had been a part of. So we're just kind of going on through the process. So as you know, we switched to Voya, even though we've always had Voya, it was Voya through ADP, but we also had another company that we used as well. So we were running 3 retirement plans with 2 different companies, and it is extremely difficult. And so there were 16 people took the other retirement plan. So I sent a message to let them know that as of December the 24th, we're no longer going to offer that additional retirement plan. That they can still take through Voya with us, and we would be happy to support that, but we can't manage all of the other accounts too. And to be honest, the other company is just not responsive at all. Like, I asked to meet with them and they said, why do you want to meet? We can just do it over email. And so I'm at that rate. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow where Voya is going, has offered for those people to get on and talk about what they could do with those other accounts if they want to, or they can just make contributions on their own for that. Enrollment. Right now, we are currently a little under projected enrollment, and I'm not gonna lie, I was panicking a little bit at first, but then Kathy has done great to talk me off the ledge. And then also the high school, they feel like we're going to be right on track for FTE. So we have had, at first the report came through that we were short on CASA. I'm like, what? But no, we're at cap now on CASA. And then we are picking up, it says K through 12, but it's actually, or K through 6, but it should be K through 12. So Cindy at the high school and then Kathy have assured me that we are going to be just fine on our enrollment. So we're just going to keep moving along, and they say we have a wait list and they're processing. So I was happy to see that. Lily has done an excellent job at making sure our student supply fees. So it actually increased from when I sent out this thing. We're up to $75,375.
That's, yeah.
Yes.
What's the total?
Yeah,
I
so
know.
far.
And
What's
how
the
much
total
do we
we're trying to
expect?
get to?
I think it was 96 and some change. Yeah, I think it was 96 and some change. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
25%
So,
more is everyone's in there.
she has worked really hard. I know Cindy
Yes.
has really pounded the pavement over there of like, hey, you want your stuff, here's your supply fee. So Lily's plan is to get all of the rosters, and then starting in the end of September, cross-checking all of that, and then start making those contacts of, hey, you owe this money, kind of thing. Volunteer hours, I think Stephen and Kate, you all had met and talked about it, so he seemed to be excited about that, of how we can track those 20 hours and, letting our families know we are definitely going back to tracking those hours, because that is part of your agreement when you sign up with our charter. And we could use you like in all kinds of areas, just like we were talking about maintenance and.
I was thinking about that, like, we're at, I don't know how many total families we're at now, but high, 800-900 probably, right? Or times 20 hours, you're talking about, tens of thousands of volunteer hours. Like, do we actually have enough volunteer opportunities for people to do that? Because like with the lawn maintenance and, work like that, you could get people out here to do a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. So I know like we're begging people for lunches still. Like
Yeah.
that's been really, really hard. I know Brittany keeps putting that out. Lawn stuff, we need our buildings power washed, we need windows cleaned. Like there are things that can be done inside and outside of
If
the
you put
building.
it out there with the reminder that says, by the way, you have signed up and committed to 20 hours of volunteer service, and here's the ways that you start putting that in the newsletter.
Yes.
Here's some opportunities for you to fulfill those.
Somebody to organize that.
We're gonna be
Yeah.
keeping track of
That's a
them
big-
and holding you
yeah.
accountable, like.
Yeah, so that's the thing, we're trying to keep, get that system, making sure that's up and running, and then, you know, we did, like, they put it out at the secondary campus, but, I know with that said, it was through the week, and that's hard for some parents, but we didn't get hardly anybody to sign up through the week.
Yeah.
So, which I understand when we asked through the week, so it's just trying to find time outside, like, so then find the commitment to stay on a Saturday, and, because somebody has to work.
Tell them to come, do the yard, take a picture of it, and then submit it for their volunteer hours. Then you don't have to have anything organized.
That's
You-
perfect.
If you just mow this section, that's 5 hours.
That's all we need, that's all we need.
Show up, take a picture before and after, and we'll give you the points.
Yes, yes.
Are we gonna communicate with folks that we are going to be keeping track
Yeah,
of it?
that's
It's been,
gonna be in my
Let's see.
newsletter tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll drive for
yeah,
your participation
Yeah, I
for
think
sure.
so too.
Start
Yeah.
reminding people, by the way, you're on the hook for this.
right.
Yeah.
It has been very much the honor system since
Yeah.
at least COVID.
Yeah, so we are, I'm gonna put it in our weekly newsletter tomorrow, just like some of this recap of, hey, here's all the great things that's happened, but don't forget, you know, your supply fee and your volunteer hours.
Kate and Stephen are playing with data.
And if they volunteer for PTO, are they getting hours too,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm
If they attend PTO meetings, if they listen to board
Oh, yeah.
meetings, yeah, there's.
Karen's, we'll get a bunch of different.
Great.
Fall
I guess-
test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of discussion, I've had a lot of emails around band, so I'm putting it out there. Band is happening. Phoebe at the high school has been gracious. She actually has a music degree, and she is going to pick up band. So we're working out the details, so that will happen. But that, I think, was a huge thing for families, and so just kind of working through that.
Will there be a
I've been
been on
paying
this
for the
campus as
saxophone
well?
to sit
It'll
in
be
my house all
there.
summer.
Well, actually, I'm intended to
If this band doesn't happen,
you
I
would like
think
to
I
do your
think
day over there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll be in both places.
it's not get
Yeah.
played.
We just gotta figure out how to get part of the equipment there.
Yeah, there's no practicing that one.
But yeah.
Um,
And then as I said,
Real
we
quick.
met
Yeah.
with the auditor today, and all I can say is I'm thankful that Lily is with me, because half of the things he said, I'm like, what are you asking? But we're working along with that. He is definitely very thorough. And so I appreciate how patient he is with us, but definitely more than what we did last year as far as, I think I was just so new last year, I didn't know what I didn't know, but so he walked through a lot of those things with us. So. And then you did have a document that said IMO Achievement Goals 2024. And we were required by the state to put out a 5-year goals. And so that's what we came up with for our 5-year, which is a little difficult for me to look at. While I want a 5-year goal, I also want to how we're going to baby step it. So I wanted to share that with you, like what that goal would be. But then I also uploaded for you more specific goals that we worked on in our action plan. So this is something that, as you know, the big rocks that we work on every year. Hit the wrong one, sorry. I apologize. What's that? It says action plan goals, 2024, 2025. So it's broken down by both campuses and then overall. So one of the things we're really pushing hard is that we no longer call this main campus. We have 2 campuses. And so I am really trying hard to stop doing that. So we have our elementary campus, which is here, and then our secondary campus. So when you hear me refer to that, that's what we're talking about, because one is not any different than the other. And you know, so really trying to bring them together. We again kept it to our 3 big rocks, which was high quality instruction, safe and healthy culture, and then communication and community agreement or engagement. One of the things that we did that I talked to administrators about was for instruction, is we did look at our scores. I am happy to report that like we are so close to an A, like it's like a percentage point away. So we can do this, and I know it scares people when we start talking about grades. But at the end of the day, we are a public school. We are held accountable for that, and that is important to some people. It is not our end all be all, so we are definitely going to keep our Montessori approach. But we would be doing a disservice if we didn't give all students an opportunity to excel in academics and compete with other students in the state. And so we're going to really spend some time aligning that, especially in the area of math. Math was a great weakness for us this year. So you can see Kathy and Eileen are going to spend time this year, and they have mapped out the realignment of the Florida standards for math and the Montessori scope and sequence. With our goal of improving the math scores. And then also another instructional thing is increase the Montessori experiences for all students, but definitely around the World Peace Games. So they're creating that in Upper L. Then you can look at the safe and healthy culture. They're going to look at PD and those restorative practices for staff and continue that approach. Focus on mental health and behavior tier 1 strategies in all classrooms, and then ensure, of course, all the mandates for safety. And you'll see that that's common on both the elementary and secondary campus. And then communication, we are really, we've talked about it, we've just got to get a date. We want to start hosting Montessori family education events, but kind of setting it up like they rotate through, but those community agreements that we created, those kind of things. So we are looking at in September, hosting that first night and then going over those community agreements that they worked on all last year. And then some other Montessori education. Of course, we want to encourage and promote teacher participation in our school events and making sure that they stay involved. Messaging our growing together, it takes a village as a community goal. And then, of course, the biggest thing is increase our opportunities to share all the great things that are happening. There's so many great things that's happening at both of our campuses, but letting the community know that. Sometimes you only hear the negative, and so it's definitely to show how we've grown. So that is the elementary side. Secondary, Dr. P had, I'm sorry, John Pagnotti, he goes by Dr. P for a lot of the kids, but established the culture of PLCs. So his vertical PLC, he is starting vertical PLCs with his staff. And for those that don't know what that's professional learning communities. And so they will be weekly, and they're going to say all the science get together and start aligning their curriculum. And then, of course, focused on data and problem solving, and then study guides that tie directly to the goals and standards using guiding questions. And that, is taking the guiding questions from the Montessori side of the thing and the study guides and kind of modeling those together. Again, safety for safe and healthy culture. And then he has established a Montessori-based council to support him, ensuring that he doesn't get away from the Montessori approach. And so he has started that to keep that at the forefront. And then he wants to increase communication with all stakeholders. And so he has kind of put out there the way he wants to do that, with the biggest being showcase. He's going to try to create with his team 2 showcases that focus on all the things they're doing on the incubator this year. And then he had some overall academic goals. So he had specific points that he wanted to increase in math, English, science, and biology. So you can see there his focus on, on all the core subjects. And then organizationally, so my big rocks is I had this goal last year, and well, the first one, we're going to continue to focus on the stability of the school. So we definitely don't want to keep our eye off of that and the bond requirements. But last year I had the goal of MTSS and ESE and kind of got sidetracked. I really don't want to do that this year. So I'm working directly with our MTSS coach and learning a lot from them on their ideas and their instructional approaches, and then my knowledge as well. And then redesigning our MTSS system. And so that is something that we've already started. We've already mapping that out and already have a plan, and we're going to chunk it into 6-week intervals and then train staff and go through that way. So by the end of the year, we have a solid approach. So I know my principals are on here. I'm sure I missed something. So any of you want to add to all of that information? It's crickets.
Hello. Sorry. Yeah, no, you did a great job, Heather, capturing everything. It's been a great start to the school year. I think that I am seeing everything that we had hoped would materialize when we merged our secondary, our adolescent programs together. I had the pleasure of stopping by secondary campus today, and oh, it was just so joyful and lovely. And the teachers that I see are just so happy to be at a dedicated adolescent campus. And as one of our middle school teachers said to me, it's just so nice to be.
No.
Right on the cliffhanger.
Well, I thought I did something. So, I was like, oh, I got an email on that. I'm sorry, Kathy. I would just like to reiterate what Kathy had said. It has, I think it was a sigh of like a big, when everybody came together finally. It's happened at the secondary campus kind of organically. I don't have a quantitative way to measure it except for smiles, and I've seen a lot of smiles on teachers. I've seen a lot of smiles on students, and that really means something to me. It's been a really great 6-7 days on campus. And I told the staff in a little, I call it the mini wag, that my mini weekly update, that it's better than I could have hoped for. So I'm so very thankful to them and all their hard work. It was, we got everything together. Everything was on the walls. Everything was beautiful when students arrived last Monday. And I'm just so very proud of each and every one of them. So we're figuring it out as we go. There's going to be some kinks along the way, but so far, so good.
Excellent.
I told Kathy she was frozen. She said, well, I hope I look good.
It never works out that way.
No, it looks like it kicked her back off, but yeah, I really, I know it's been this past year was a whirlwind, and I think I was telling Marissa when we walked in, I'm gonna knock on wood. It has been so much fun the last month or so. Like, this is exciting, and to watch that whole thing with middle school coming over, and just to see the students. Has there been growing pains with some of the procedures we put in place, like dress code is like really dress code, and cell phones and those kind of things, but overall, like, there's been a few kinks, for example, childcare and figuring that out from one to the other, but I am really impressed and so happy to be a part of a team that we're just gonna figure it out. And it has been really, really nice start to the school year, and it's exciting to see what's happening and to watch everybody grow. So I am really impressed, and our administrators worked really hard this summer. You have John and his team being new and figuring it out, and it's just different, coming into our organization. And then you have Kathy and Eileen figuring out how do I do this with less people, and what does that look like? But man, they have not complained at all. It's just, so our 12-month staff, I'm just going to say it again, are incredible. They just really have come together this summer. It seems like you think, oh, you have all summer. I think Stephen added it up as like 60 days. I'm like, 60 days is not a lot, to get all of this done. So kudos to them. So I'm excited to see where we go this year and what we can do. So kudos to them.
Can I just say one other thing? It's about officially a month now since I've started with the organization. And I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's listening on the board, and any of the folks at home that on the staff. Just thank you for the warm welcome. As you had said, it was different coming in, and I was commenting today, or maybe it was yesterday, the days are kind of running into each other, but I felt at home right away. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, you've done great.
I think Kathy's back on if she had.
Well, it looks like she's still frozen.
Oh no, she's
here.
Oh, there she
I'm
is.
here.
She's making sure to smile consistently now. I think she gets frozen again.
I told Heather, I hope I had a lovely expression on my face there while I was frozen. So guys, yeah, so everything is going really great. I think our biggest challenge has been we did have a lot of last minute withdrawals, which is why Kiana is very busy adding in new students, but we have tons and tons of children on our wait list. We look forward to welcoming them in. And I think one of our biggest challenges this week, and it'll continue to be a challenge next week, is that because we have enrichment at elementary, not electives, we don't need certified teachers and they only work a part-time amount. And we've lost two of our absolutely amazing enrichment teachers because they have full-time gigs, and those full-time gigs sometimes need to take precedence so they can eat and things like that. So we did lose a couple of our wonderful enrichment teachers. So the staff has really been pulling together so amazingly to cover those gaps while we are filling those positions. Jamie, our social worker, has been going in doing groups, and Eileen and I have been able to jump in and do some code of conduct and kindness lessons. We've had Natalie, our testing coordinator. We've had Heather, one of our ESE teachers. Like, everyone is just jumping in to fill those spots. So just like, it's a crazy, crazy busy time of year. So I'm just very grateful to everyone being willing to just do all the things that need to be done. We're off to a great start. So thank you.
Can I ask a question? I think Kathy, you mentioned like a bunch of withdrawals at the last minute. Is there any like kind of theme around that, or is that anything normal, more, anything different than
Yeah,
we
no,
that's this just normal course of business?
Moving.
Yeah. I mean, we message that we would love all those withdrawals to come earlier in the summer at least. But I think a lot of people either, opportunities occur. I had a phone call from a mom today, actually, Heather Clay, who was taking a break from janitorial and facilities duties, was answering the phone at the front desk today when she called.
I think I got, but it's
the Puentes family have just left us, and but it's like it's a scholarship. It's a variety of different reasons that people do, and sometimes these, in the case of the Puentes families, opportunities arise right at the last minute, and so they have to take advantage of them. And then I think people are also on the fence, or they just don't want to fess up to it until the last, I don't know. However, we miss everyone who's left us, and we will be filling those spots pretty soon. But can I tell you, like, walking through the classes, it's lovely when Eileen and I have gone in and I've said, okay, hands up who is brand new to our school. Like, not a whole lot of hands are going up. It's a very well-established community at this point, which, having seen our evolution over time, is really lovely to be in that place where it's just a few children added in here and there, and not just a whole classroom full of new kids. And we can see it, we can feel it. It's good.
I mean, just looking over the big rocks, to me, I can see the shift in just what the focus is for the new year. I mean, it just is like very aware that you guys have put so much time and effort, and just it's very instructional based, right? Like, it's like really just meeting the kids where they need to be met. And I think the big rocks that you've just displayed, to me, just scream like, we're focused. We've got a plan. Here's what we're gonna do, and you're gonna come around. So I love the goals for this year. I think they're spot on. I think you guys really put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of those be met. So that's fantastic.
I just had one question on them too. Like, I think last year you had a spreadsheet where I think you had metrics that you were tracking on each one of those. Do you plan to have all of that with
Yeah.
metrics that we can review? So
Yeah, I can
cool.
add you all to that. That's fine. I just didn't think as a community they would want to see all
Oh,
that, but
sure.
we still have
No,
yeah. So, I actually already have a meeting scheduled with Kathy and Eileen, and then, John and Leanna separate to finalize all of that till Christmas, this
Yeah.
is where we want to be kind of thing. But definitely we'll share that, same thing.
As we review them here, like
Yeah.
just have
Yeah,
it.
And it will look a little different. Last year, it was all on one, and this year you're gonna see three. You're gonna see the elementary, the secondary, and then the overall organization, which would be where I'm at.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I'll share all of that with you all.
Appreciate it.
And then the last thing is the internet safety policy. This one, we did have, one typo, so it just was, a word was wrong. But, this is the same exact policy I think we've had for a couple years. I submitted it and then it was kicked back as denied, and I'm like, well, why? Well, it was because it wasn't signed. But then it wasn't signed last year either, and so I was like, well, we're gonna have a board meeting, so I'll just go through the official, so if it's okay with you all, like I said, it's exactly what we've always had, but I just need Marissa to sign it.
Go ahead and
Probably
sign.
doesn't need a vote, right? Just-
I don't
There's no
think
change.
so.
Yeah.
There's no
Just sign
change other than, I think, what did it say, file herring?
Files herring
Yeah,
instead
instead
of
of file
files
sharing.
sharing.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's the same thing.
Thank you.
I think that is it for me.
All right.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
Great update.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yes, excellent.
First 7 days for my family have seemed to gone very, very well. And
Mhm.
Good.
everyone's excited and loving it, so
Yeah, happy kids.
definitely.
So I did move up PTO a little earlier.
Yeah.
So Karen, if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you.
If there's something specific that you want me to present, I'll be glad to, but I thought I would just go down what we've done so far and what our plans are. That work?
Sure, yeah.
I met a lot with Kathleen and Eileen at the end of last year and have really tried to put into place a calendar that families, I think, like. We kept a lot of consistency, but we're trying to streamline the way that we communicate things and the amount of things that we do. And so we, of course, were a part of Meet the Teacher. We offered snacks and treats and breakfasty things to our teachers on their first day back. Let's see, we have our PTO and our first movie night, our PTO meeting and our first movie night this coming Friday. I feel like I'm missing something. I'll look at the calendar.
We'll take a bookmark. I love the bookmark.
Oh.
On my fridge. Yeah.
We have Fall Fest upcoming. Let's see if there's anything else. The Boohoo Breakfast. We had an amazing turnout of families, of the new parents and returning parents for primary. It was great. I would guess we probably had 50 people
Wow.
stop by. It was a lot. I don't know that the food showed that, but there were a lot of people in there that we were talking to, and it was lovely. So things are going well. Figuring out the financial pieces of it, figuring out how to navigate sharing our website with clubs and all of those nuances, but yeah, it's going well. We have, let's see, PTO meetings coming up. We have 2 open positions right now, one of which I think will be filled this week. Webmaster should be filled, and then we still have room parent chair open. And then we're always looking for fundraising help. So
That spirit night was hopping.
yeah,
Pelicans.
I feel like
Mom.
it's the best. We have to do that every year for as long as, yes, it's always amazing. Yeah, so good things. Kind of the same. We're just continuing what's been started by the predecessors who were wonderful. Yeah,
Excellent.
I think that's it.
Is Fall Fest at Long and Scottsdale?
It is not. Yeah, the person that works with Great Scott Farms left and went to Amber Brooks.
Okay.
And so we followed. We thought,
Okay.
because we had a good working relationship with him. And so we stuck there. And so Katrina and I went and toured this summer, and it's cute. It's kind of boutique. It's a smaller, quaint
There.
space. Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. But then they have other fun things that, some
Is
of
it
them
the
don't.
same
and-
area?
It's Eustis.
It's out
Oh,
in
it's still the
Eustis,
same
yeah.
place.
Yeah,
Similar.
yeah, Lake County.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. So I think it'll be good. Yeah, good things to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Well,
Karen.
good luck with your year. and
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking over.
Yes.
and-
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, we
I'm more than
appreciate
happy
your
to.
time. We know that you were going to be putting in way more manpower and hours than anybody else will even understand. So thank you.
I planned a lot this summer, and for as much as I plan, there's still so much that comes
Yeah.
up. So Yeah. Thank you. I'm happy to
Thank
be
you.
here, and if I
Yeah.
can ever be of support, we definitely need volunteers. So we're happy that those hours are going to be more.
Yeah, that will help. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps a lot to have people.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Yeah,
care.
have a good one.
What about
Yeah. Just
open it?
you gotta brush it. We don't have to duck.
Great, next, since Kevin isn't here, we have finance update. Back to Heather.
Well, Lily's on here too, so
Ah,
I'm
okay.
ready to jump in. So, Lily, be prepared. I'm going to kind of recap. We have not had this month's meeting yet, so that's next Tuesday. So we'll have a more updated information. But I did want to share with you all what we did talk about in our July meeting. So that is on your board docs as well. So the one most people want to know about is the bond covenant, making sure that we met. What I wanted to show you and what we have is where we started in January of this year to June. This isn't final numbers because it has to be audited, but this is what Building Hope has put together for us. So on our debt service ratio, you can see that we started at 0.84 in January and we made it to 1.24. And our debt service ratio covenant was 1.1. So we are on track to meet that. So hopefully that happens when the audit comes out. The other was the cash on hand. As you can see, in January, we started with 18 and we ended June 30th at 46. And so definitely, that is definitely the work of my team. That is 100% them. And then you can kind of see the revenue for the cash reserves.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So that was exciting to see for that. The other thing was I shared the document. It's just for the end for the whole year, just so you can see that as well, broken down for July 1 last year to June 30th. So it's the same thing we just discussed, but that's kind of where we are on our bonds. So hopefully the auditor that Lily and I and Alicia was in the room with actually follows through with this and gets the same numbers that we had. The other document, I'm not sure if I uploaded it or not. Let me see. I apologize.
Do you know why the increase in the daily operating expense? What is that? Do you know what is
Which one are you looking?
the ratios?
Are you looking
You
at
start at like
historical.
21 and then you're 21, 21, 22, 22, 24.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me pull back. I'm sorry, I stuck that one out. You're on the historical one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
it's just the number right above that day's cash on hand.
I'm not. Lily, would you happen to know why?
I just wanted to ask a
No,
question that makes
that's-
Lily
that-
ask to bring
that-
on. Like Stacy.
I'm sorry, what document are we looking at?
It's the one for historical data for the debt service ratio covenants.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. It says cash and then total.
Screen share maybe? Where's? Oh. I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
The bond ratios historical one?
Yes, please. It's under cash and it says daily operating expense.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah, sorry. Days on cash, daily operating expense.
Just trying to think why I can't.
Can y'all see my screen? Yeah. Kate just shared too, Lily, in case.
Okay. All right, what was your question again?
It goes from like in January, we're at 21 and then 21, 21, 22, 22, and then with June it jumped to 24. I was just curious as to the increase there.
What did we have in June that we had to pay out?
PTO? Did they have PTO?
No, that hasn't come out.
Hold on.
I mean, we're talking like 2,000, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not much. I just was curious
Wonder
to
what
see if
I mean,
there
it
was.
could just be other things that we were bringing up and spending, but that's basically what our ongoing costs incurred to maintain our day-to-day operations.
Got it.
So we did increase our cash flow in our surplus, which it's
Mhm.
also going to increase our expenses.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, and like I said, so you will, I'm hoping, I'm asking to have it ready by our next board meeting, so hopefully well, but you'll have to approve our audit.
Yeah.
He knows the deadline to be submitted to the state is October the 1st, so I did inform him like we have to have it by our board meeting, so
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that he's ready to go. And so we'll be able to have a final number for that then,
Okay.
too.
Do you feel like this is sustainable where you're at in the end of June with the debt service ratio and that cash on hands? Like, do you,
Do
how
not
much?
jinx it.
I'm not, just like, do you feel like you've gotten to a place now where that's manageable,
Yeah,
or it wasn't
as long
by,
as something
we got
huge
lucky
doesn't
one
break.
month? Yeah.
Yeah, no. We have maintained that since
Looks like
June
really
30th. So we
Yeah.
still have that even,
Even
and I'm
May.
knock on wood, even through
Yeah.
ordering all of the school supplies and those kind of things. So we
Right.
have been able to maintain our reserves.
And our requirement's 45,
Yes.
and the debt service ratio is 1.1.
1 to 1. Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, as you recall, during our meeting, they want us more at 137 days cash on hand to do the meeting.
Wait, 137?
That's what they want.
That's like
That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's not feasible.
that's like $3 million of
Yeah.
cash sitting in the bank.
More.
What schools
We're at
have 3 million?
46.
Public schools have $3 million sitting in the bank.
Well, out of 91 that they sent me, over half of them.
No, I
do.
still don't believe that those are in the US. That's what I'm like. I feel like those were in Japan and Australia based on that documentation.
Yeah, so,
And the transfer
but
rate.
you know what,
currency
I'm
rate
just gonna
changes.
keep meeting it the best that we can.
That's what I'm going with.
And then, that's all we're gonna do. We still have a school to run, we still have kids to educate.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
For
they
sure.
calculated
Yeah,
it
like-
differently. I don't know what do you have in Australia? What's the currency?
Yeah, that's the currency.
3 million rupees. no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we met, like, it's not official, but according to this, and I hope it comes in right at that. You just never know what's
Yeah.
gonna hit. But I've prepared myself, like, what if it comes in at 40 days? I'm just gonna have to suck it up and be okay that
Yeah.
we went from 18 to that. So,
Absolutely.
but we're really, I have to go back even to the staff. I know it's been an adjustment of how we have a system set up for ordering and how, cash and all of that kind of, like, reimbursements, none of that's happening this year as far as you don't buy it on your own. Everything has to be approved, go through our system. But it was, for this, but two, it's what you really should be doing.
Yes,
And
yeah,
for
we
audit
have-
purposes, because we have to submit that to the auditor, but, everybody has worked really, really hard. My administrators are doing great about saying, nope, we're not ordering that, or nope, we can find it cheaper. Like we just went through the entire list. Our secretaries have been great. Like, they are trained now to know that we're going to find the best price and we're going to price compare. And so I think it's just changing our habit, but overall, so you'll have at the next board meeting, all of August information. I know, working with Building Hope, they have to roll over their system. They typically do that in July into August. So we did have codes that weren't matching up. When we went through, we were really spot on what we projected and how we ended. So I was really pleased with that. But there's some codes that needed to be cleaned up and stuff like that. So they have said they will have all that done. So we'll know at our next finance meeting if that occurred, because we're really going to be diligent about coding everything correctly. Like, it's not just going to go to a miscellaneous account. I want to know where every dime is going, so we know to project
Right.
what that looks like for years to come. So
Yeah, and the good thing about looking at this cash flow data is that, in January, you see that we ended the month with 389,000, and in June it was 1.1 million of cash
Mhm.
in our bank. So yeah, it went up significantly, and so of course our expenses are gonna go up when we're looking at payroll and all these other stuff, but at least the daily operating expense wasn't as it didn't go up significantly as our cash did, which is good.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So moving to our committee updates, I guess first is we did approve our working session, which it covered our 4 key goals for 24-25,
Mhm.
which cover maintain a strong set of board director members between 6 and 8.
Mhm.
So that brings us to our next steps for candidates, and we want to talk through maybe a schedule there with regards to interviewing,
Yeah.
whatnot. So
Remind us of the slate we have.
Three?
right now we have 2.
Oh, 2.
Rob did say he doesn't have the time commitment. Thank you. So we have both of them in the room. So
Okay.
we've got Carla, we got Walter. I know you guys were able to meet. I don't know. You guys were able to meet as well. Okay. And then Carla and Walter were also on my development committee call. So we've kind of covered all of the requirements of steps to get to know the board. And so let me know if I mistake this, but from what I understand is that we pick a time for interviews. I reference checks, and then we have
Yep.
then we discuss and have a vote.
Yeah. No,
Between
that's
the-
correct. Because
between
they've been
two meetings.
each been to more than 3 board meetings at this point, right?
This would be their second into the
That next one would be the third. Okay. I think that was only, but if they've been at a developmental meeting, we could, or like a committee meeting, Um, yeah, we would just need to go ahead and just look at the calendar and see, typically we would just do it a few minutes before the board meeting is typically the easiest thing to do. The schedule wise, right? That's the easiest for you too, right? You guys?
Probably like an hour beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good to go ahead and slate that in for September.
So our next board meeting is quite soon, actually. It's September 10th because this
Yeah.
one was late.
Yeah.
So it'd be in 3 weeks.
That I'm fine with that time frame. That works for me.
Okay.
September 10th is the board meeting.
Uh-huh.
So then normally 6:30, so then 5:30.
So that gives us 30 minutes per person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we probably want 30 minutes, and then we probably need 30 minutes to have a
Yeah.
recap discussion on that.
So do you want to do it at
Push the
5?
meeting back?
But we could do like,
Or-
I mean, we
Or,
could
oh
do
yeah,
it
we could push the
September
board
and
meeting
then
to
vote
7.
to add people in October too, and have a discussion. Doesn't matter. We could push it back half an hour. Let's.
Push the board meeting back to 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Or we could meet at 5 if that's too early. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So 5:30 and then
What do we have on the agenda for October or September? That's not one of our big buckets. October is our big bucket meeting.
Right, I don't.
So it should be a slim meeting board
yeah,
wise.
of anything.
So we could probably knock it out in an hour.
Yeah.
We can crank the agenda up.
I'll just.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
so we'll start at 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think leave,
Interviews.
yeah. Tell Karen that she can come in virtually so she doesn't have to. We can still keep her moved up because I feel bad when they're on, but if we can get through that, yeah, that'll work. So keep it at 5:30. We'll do one interview at 5:30, one interview at 6. We'll recap at 6:30, and then the board meeting will start at 7.
Okay. Well, I will be in touch.
Will there be food?
Yes,
Notice,
we will definitely order food for that one. Any request? Food wise, what do you request?
the Uber Eats.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely what we're doing, yeah.
Well, I can pick
So,
up the
like-
food because I'm not in the board or the candidates, right? In the board meeting.
yeah, you don't need to be in there.
So you all just tell me what you all want and I'll pick it up for you.
Yeah, we can have it, we would just wanna have it like when we're, the 6:30, we don't have it here by 6:30.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. So you all, I'm not good at deciding what we want to eat. That's my husband. So you all have to decide what you want. And then.
Right,
We have 3 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah. Looking at our Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
That's what
Kevin- if Kevin
Kristen was so
on-
good at that
I know,
stuff.
if Kevin was on, he would say we
tell
would.
her to come.
Oh,
Kevin wants Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is what he wants, so.
Okay.
That's because you started that.
I know I did. You got in on it too, so you're all for it. Hey, Kristen, put in an Uber Eats order for us.
Is she on? That would be
Yeah, she is
amazing.
on.
She is on? She can't stay away.
She can't.
All right, so that sounds good. So that'll be our first step, and I'll also reach out about references,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And then we could put a motion on the October. Potentially,
Okay,
because you'll want to check references probably after that time
Yeah.
period, so then
Okay.
it would really be an October vote in on that kind of thing.
uh-huh, okay.
Just so you have plenty of time to do that, because that doesn't, that takes
We still
time.
have time to scare them off too.
Yeah. We don't. You don't.
I don't.
All right, so then that brings us to other committee updates. I know you've been on
Yep,
break.
We've
Do
been
you-
on hiatus. We'll be back in September, so
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get that communication out about that returning meeting.
yeah, and maybe you could pick up some new interested members.
Yeah,
Now that school
yeah.
started.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I did over the summer, I did chat with Michelle from high school and I sent her over the awesome grant. That was the one where they didn't really want folks like me submitting a grant for the whole school. They really wanted like someone who's running a program to
Mhm.
submit something. So I thought that would be a good opportunity for that. So we talked about that over the summer. Yeah. But otherwise, it's been pretty quiet. Although Selena's been hard at work, so she's already got things things coming through. Yes, we'll be back at it, and I'll have a more thorough update.
All right, the development committee, these guys as well, did meet. And then we continue to just talk through a potential December event, as I discussed last board meeting. We had some good ideas as far as also adding in some silent auction items. I think my next step is to potentially meet with, I think, the admin team to just make sure those ideas are kosher and good with from like a school perspective, because some of the ideas were around utilizing the classrooms for auction items, which I think has been done somewhat in the past, where there's art piece or something to that effect.
Too, in the past that they've done that, right? The art room that hosted a lot of that, like artwork and stuff as they were going around, but yeah, we could.
Yeah, so
Some
kind of need to
PR.
firm up some of the
Mhm.
ideas of like what's realistic from a school perspective. And then yeah, I would probably definitely need some volunteers if we're gonna pull that off.
We could put a blurb in the parent square, or parent square. Just like a board needs list, like blurb of some sort, where what kind of things we're needing or looking for upcoming events and planning, with like a little, I mean, it doesn't have to be this week for tomorrow's, but like like we had like a little section in the parent square weekly update with like, hey, we have this about this committee that's meeting on these days. You reach out to this person if you want to join. I don't know, like just some sort of like just little section in there, because I know that it's on the calendar, but a lot of that stuff is probably missed. So maybe we could be able to get some high needs, and we could put, even if we wanted to put the reminders in there for I feel like volunteer hours
Yeah.
and serve supply fee, thank you. You read my mind, would be like a good place even though that could be housed too,
Yeah.
if you wanted to have those little, like a little separate block, so.
Okay.
But that might be a place for you to do like an all call where you need,
Mhm.
we're looking at doing this, and if you'd be interested, right? Like, because as much as I would love that we're looking at a very small group in this meeting tonight, I know that we do have a community that does watch the Zoom, the recording after it on their
Mhm.
time, but I think when you talk about 900 families, it's probably like 2%, 3%, right? Like it's a
Right.
very, small amount that is following along here, right? So
Uh-huh.
I would love to see if we could just share some of those things to an update.
Mhm.
And maybe we only put it in there, whatever, after the month, and it's just in there for the month, and then we update it the next month, and it's the same thing all monthly. You don't need to change it weekly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I had a
Did I
quick
miss
question.
anything?
Are we, as far as the goals for for the grant writing committee and for the development committee, do we have different fundraising goals this year? Or are we still targeting the same types of goals? Like
Oh, I see what you're saying.
like last year, Grant was really focused on like the library.
Right.
Is that still our main goal this year, or do we want to add on some other key grant areas to be looking at? No, I totally put everyone on the spot, so maybe just think about it.
Yeah.
And we can chat about it. Maybe I can brainstorm with the grant writing committee first and maybe connect with you all. But yeah, there's definitely, at least in grants, there's like very specific
Right.
things that you can write grants for, but they're super targeted, so.
Yeah, I would hate to put a limit on them because then that might
Yeah,
prevent you guys from going after certain things.
yeah, so
right?
maybe we start broad and
Yeah.
come back with some ideas.
Anything that supports the school at
Okay.
this point is let's
Okay.
keep that focus
Okay,
there.
yep.
I don't think it would, I like the idea of it trying to match to the
Mhm.
school goal or school fundraising goals, but I think it would just
Broadly
target
connect.
us too much.
Okay, sounds good.
There was one thing I forgot to mention, when you were talking about grants. So John brought in someone from OCPS at our admin meeting to talk about CTE programs, so the career and technical education. And so that's something we're going to explore this year, especially on the technology side. So we had Stephen there as well, where starting in 4th and 5th grade, kids can start doing different courses and passing. So for example, digital citizenship or word processing or something like that. And then it's also, one, kids would have that certification, but then 2, it's funding.
Yeah.
And so definitely, so you were talking about grants and stuff.
Yeah.
It may be eventually like technology,
A lot
those kind of things. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we could definitely look at that.
That just reminded me, I don't know if this needs to be an official committee, but Stephen and I are doing data stuff now, so I don't know if if anyone else has data expertise, and we're gonna be Power BIing it up and analyzing some stuff. So if anyone has
Yeah.
interest in
That
Let me
might
know
be
when you go
another
back.
into that,
Spend a lot of time on
Yeah.
Power BI.
yeah, so that's definitely something that we're looking at.
Mhm.
I mean, particularly we're good. So it's a little tricky. All of the student stuff obviously is very much private and very locked down.
PII,
Yeah. So that we're talking about the kinds of things that we would be able to use as kind of test cases, and it was the
Mhm.
volunteer hours
Yeah.
and the supply fees. So that's what we're going to start with, is kind of that like bigger family, adult data, not because
Mhm.
we definitely don't want to be doing anything with any student data or anything like that.
Hey, Kate, this is Scott. Are you looking for help with that data?
Scott, you want to data with us?
Well, I'm probably not the best guy, but the good thing is I have really smart people in my organization that would gladly be able to offer some help. I'm not sure if that's an option, but I can certainly look at leveraging some of the expertise that we have in our data practice with Power BI experts, things of that nature, if you all feel that would be helpful.
Yeah, and I can do just some checking just to make sure, but I think as long as we're not using any of that private data, that's, that's why we're not touching that with the 10-foot pole. So yeah, I would think that for the stuff that we're working with,
Mhm.
I would think it would all be safe to use, but let me talk to Stephen and take a look at that.
Sure. Yeah. Talk to Steven and I'll connect with you offline, but happy to help out there. I mean, we've got several people that I know would jump right in and offer some help.
Yeah, you're hired, Scott. You're in.
Yeah, they might, just the loading of it, right? Like, I feel like, once it's in there, it's easier
Yeah,
to
once it's
manipulate.
set up,
But
yeah.
getting the data into Power BI
Mhm.
to manipulate it is
Right.
the tricky part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Thanks, Scott.
So
No problem.
that takes us to our president's update, Stacey, I think.
Yeah, we're good. 8 o'clock. Love where we are headed for the school year. Love hearing all of the positives from both campuses, both the elementary and the secondary campus. Love that that's our new mind shift. So we'll keep making sure that we ensure that verbiage moving forward as well. But I hope everybody had a great start to the school year. And I saw our Parent Square messages get updated. So classroom rosters are getting loaded. And so just continue to be involved and connect with your teachers and connect with opportunities with PTO and the board. And I think it's going to be a great year. Thank you for everybody's hard work and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All
Have a
right.
wonderful evening.
Have a wonderful evening. We'll adjourn at 8:01.